This is The View from the Fifth Floor, written and narrated by Mason in the Dark. I honestly don't know why people are so afraid of getting older. The thought of it has never bothered me, and now as I sit here on my balcony in the warmth of the late evening summer sun, I can put my foot down and say without a doubt it suits me. I was meant to be an old man. You see, when you're my age, nobody expects anything from you. They leave you be, and that's how I like it. For me, being old means a life without hassle. When I first moved into flat 43 Corners Grove, I thought I was going to hate it. Now that I've been here a few years, I can't think of a single thing that would make me want to leave. Except, maybe, the little bastard that lives in number 14. Is it Tom? Dom? I don't know. I can't remember. The one thing I do know is he's a little brute, and I hate the bones of him. Some people don't have a single shred of consideration, and they wouldn't know common decency if it smacked them in the face. That lad is one of them. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is, there's a 75% chance he'll be outside kicking his football against the wall, and when I shout at him to stop, he just looks up at me and smiles, the smug little git. Let me ask you, how on earth am I supposed to enjoy my nap, listen to Mrs. Botham singing in the kitchen, or hear what the couple from flat 24 are arguing about when that ball is constantly thwack, thwack, thwacking against the wall? Despite all the stairs, I love living on the 5th floor. It's absolutely perfect for people watching, which is one of my favourite things to do. And from my balcony, you can see the entirety of Corners Grove, from the bungalows at the bottom of the road to the 6 blocks of flats spread out in a circle at the top of the gently sloping hill. For a built-up urban area, the Grove is actually quite picturesque. There's plenty of cherry blossom trees dotted around, which means there's also plenty of birds to watch. My block is positioned perfectly, dead centre at the end of the road, 2 blocks on either side, and 1 directly across from me. It's ideal for gathering gossip, which, in my opinion, is one of the most valuable commodities. I take great pride in saying there's not much that gets past me. Not much that happens in the Grove that I don't see or hear about. Living around so many people, there's never any shortage of drama, and let me tell you, I've seen some stuff living here. Like the time the couple from number 24 were having a massive row. Him stood on the street begging her to calm down, her stood on their first floor balcony, chucking his belongings, which he'd shoved into black bin liners, to the ground below, screaming at him for being an unfaithful, scabby-dicked loser. Her words, not mine. Then there was the time when the batteries on Mrs. Botham's mobility scooter ran out when she was halfway down the hill and she started rolling to the road below. Don't worry, nothing happened, mostly because the guy with the beaten up Ford Focus did a mad dash to catch her and then had to drag her all the way back up to her flat so she could recharge. A few years back, the guy from number 50, John, I think his name is, was stumbling around hammered. God knows how much he'd had to drink, but it was enough that he tripped, went headfirst into an hedgerow and was stuck there for a good minute with his legs flailing in the air. My best friend Albert was sat with me on my balcony at that point and he couldn't stop laughing, which to be honest made it even funnier. I've seen people having fist fights, car windows smashed, people falling over, slipping on ice, groceries spilt, and these are just examples of things that happen outside. You would think that since there are so many flats around here, people would learn to close the curtains, but one of the things I've learnt since living on the Grove is some people have a shocking lack of concern for their own privacy, which is fine by me because that means I get to see the ridiculous stuff they get up to when they think nobody else is watching. There's a number of different flats I can see into from my balcony. Now before you start making assumptions, stop it. I'm not some sort of peeping Tom. If something inappropriate is happening, I turn away. I'm not interested in that sort of gossip. I'm far more interested in the people that dance around in the kitchen whilst making the tea, singing in the bedroom with the window open, exercising in the living room whilst watching some fitness video, and then there's Roger. Oh, Roger's my favourite. Now, Roger isn't his actual name, but when I don't know what someone's called, I tend to make up a name for him because it's easier to reference them that way. Roger lives in the block directly across from me on the 3rd floor. What you need to realise is each balcony is accessed by a sliding glass door, and Roger doesn't have anything covering his. You can see right into his living room. Whether it's jumping up from the sofa, beer in hand to shout at the football, pacing around his living room talking to someone on his phone, or having his mates around for a good old-fashioned piss-up, you can always rely on Roger to be doing something. And because he pretty much constantly leaves his balcony door open, it's not hard to hear what's going on. I can't tell you how many times I've heard him having a drunken sing-song with his mates, and it's brilliant every time. Well, living on the Grove does make me laugh, which is good because, in my opinion, laughter is the best cure for old age. Aside from Albert and Henry, I don't have many friends, if any. But living on the Grove means that there's always something going on, something to watch, and it keeps my mind active. I mean, I say that, but tonight's actually a quiet one. It's gone 9:45 and there's nobody outside, not even Tom, Dom, whatever his name is. There's no sign of Roger. Mrs. Botham will already be asleep, and to be honest, I'm feeling a little bit bored. The only thing that's breaking the silence is the sound of the guy in the flat below me playing some sort of shooting game with his balcony door wide open on his brand new state-of-the-art surround sound system he recently had installed. There are 2 reasons I know it's a recent installation. The first is things have gotten a lot louder since he got it. The second is I've heard him bragging about it to his idiot mate who visits him and always parks on the pavement right outside the block where the blind guy lives. I feel bad for laughing, I really do, but one of the funniest things I've ever seen is the blind guy slipping on the muddy grass which he had to walk on because of the car parked on the pavement, flailing to get his balance back and smashing the wing mirror with his cane. After that, he got into his flat as quickly as possible, hoping nobody had seen him. Nobody had, except me, and I'm not saying anything. The sun goes behind a cloud. It's chilly in the shade. It makes me shiver. I think about going back inside, but I'm comfortable and I can't be bothered to move. Besides, the cloud isn't that big and the sun will be back out soon. I want to savour every moment of the daylight because it won't be that long before the cold, early nights start rolling in, which I guess will at least make Susie happy because she loves the autumn. Thinking about Susie makes me feel bad. She was here earlier, banging on the door, demanding to be let in, generally causing a bit of a scene, which I'm not going to lie is kind of Susie's thing. Don't get me wrong, I love that girl. She's one of the most intelligent, kind-hearted people I've ever met, but bugger me is she a drama queen. I just can't deal with it. Whenever she's here, she brings anxiety and stress with her. I'm too old for that. I just want a quiet life. To my shame, I shouted at her. I told her she wasn't coming in and that she should just leave, which didn't work straight away, but after a minute or two, I heard her stomping off back down the stairs and the sound of her door slamming as she got into the car and drove away. I know what you're thinking. I'm a miserable, nosy old bastard, and maybe I am, but it's too late to change now. I've never been any good at dealing with high-stress situations. Susie comes in here, there's tears, she's going on about art medication, getting worked up, and I just can't deal with it. That's the honest-to-God truth. After a while, the sun comes out from behind the cloud, and I'm bathed in its warm glow again. It really is comfortable on this balcony. These days it's where I spend most of my time. My legs aren't what they used to be, so I don't go strolling around the neighbourhood as much. That's fine, it's just the way things are. But rather than planting myself in front of the telly, I sit out here and watch the world go by. As I stifle a yawn, 2 girls come stumbling out of their block arm in arm. It's clear they've been pre-drinking and now they're on their way into town for some Friday night festivities. I can hear them singing together as they weave the way down the road. About 10 minutes later, the guy from downstairs shouts, "For fuck's sake!" and there's a clatter. I'm pretty sure he threw his controller across the room. The sound of the shooting stops, he shuts the balcony door, and the almost silence sets in. I must have drifted off. The next thing I know, I'm feeling chilly, the sun's gone down, and other than the lights shining out of various windows, the grove is cast in darkness. But there's something else, something that grabs my attention, wakes me up. It's the sound of sirens getting louder. Before I know it, I can see the flashing lights. They're turning onto the road, driving up the hill. What is going on? I confess, I feel a bit excited. Henry's not going to believe this. We meet up a few times a week to swap gossip. It's quite competitive, really, but an incident with the police, well, that'll top anything he's got up his sleeve. It turns out to be a police car and an ambulance. As they pull up at the top of the hill, the grove comes to life. Curtains twitch, balcony doors subtly open. Everyone's getting ready to see what happens next. In total, there are 4 of them. 2 police officers, 2 paramedics. They get out, have a quiet discussion. One of them points this way and they start walking towards my block. They move urgently towards the main entrance, which, by the way, they find unlocked because nobody ever bloody shuts it properly. Henry's going to burst with jealousy when I tell him about this. What is going on? I do hope that Mrs. Botham hasn't taken a fall. Maybe the guy from number 39 has been reported as the drug dealer that he is. The ambulance makes that unlikely, though. The sound of their feet in the stairwell climbs higher and higher. 2nd floor, 3rd floor, 4th floor, and then they're on my landing. My landing? Has there been some sort of mix-up? Have I counted wrong? No, I didn't count wrong. The sound of urgent banging on my front door confirms this. Mr. Cooper! Mr. Cooper, will you open the door, please? Calls one of the police officers, the female one with the long dark hair. No, I will not. I haven't done anything wrong. They're not needed here and they're not coming in. I hate letting strangers into the flat. At this point, people aren't even trying to hide that they're watching. They're standing blatantly on the balconies and the doorsteps. This is causing a right scene. Mr. Cooper! Mr. Cooper, we really need you to open the door. I dash into the hallway as quickly as I can. Stand behind the door. Go away! I yell at them. You're not coming in. Mr. Cooper, this is the police. We've had a report that you might be in danger. If you don't open the door, we're going to be forced to gain access to the property. Outrageous. No, you will not, I yell back at them. But it does no good. The banging stops, and then there's a crash. A second one, and with the third, the door buckles inwards, and the police stream in. What are you doing? I shout at them. Get out of my house! But neither the police or the paramedics pay me any attention. They move right past me, down the hallway and through the open bedroom door where they gather around the bed. Mr. Cooper, can you hear me? Says one of the paramedics. He's got a soft-spoken voice, and if it wasn't for the fact that he's just broken into my flat, I might have taken a liking to him. Nah, I'm not getting a pulse, says the other one. I reckon he's been dead at least a few hours. Looks like an heart attack to me. Dead? Heart attack? What are you talking about? I scream in confused frustration. For the first time, one of the officers pays attention to me. Are we sure he's not going to attack? He seems pretty agitated, he says nervously. Attack? Attack? What kind of savage does he think I am? He's the one that's just broken into my flat. He's a Jack Russell, Rob? I think we'll be fine. His owner's died, we just kicked in his door. He's bound to be agitated, the female officer replies. This is when what they're saying finally registers with me. Albert is dead. He's had a heart attack and now he's dead. Oh, this can't be happening. This is awful. Albert's always been good to me. Shares his food, leaves the balcony door open so I can come and go as I please, doesn't even mind sharing his bed with me. The last roommate I had fed me crap food out of a can and had me sleeping on the floor. At that moment, somebody comes flying up the stairs. What's happened? Is he okay? comes the panicked voice of Susie. The female officer moves quickly to the door. "You might want to stay outside, miss. Why don't you come with me and we'll have a quick chat? You don't want to come in here right now." Susie begins to cry. "Can I at least get Charlie?" she says, and the female officer moves aside. "Come on, Charlie. Come here, mate," Susie says as she bends down. I look at her. "Albert's dead," I whine at her. "Albert's dead." "Come on, Charlie. Come here, mate." "Come on," Susie says through tears. I run at her. She scoops me up, and even though I don't usually like being picked up, this time it doesn't bother me. She carries me down the stairs to the car parked outside and places me in the passenger seat, then steps out and starts talking to the officer. She starts to cry properly. She's shaking, and the officer sweeps her into a tight embrace, rubbing her back. Almost everyone who lives on Corners Grove is outside now. Mrs. Botham shuffles over to Susie and they cry and cling on to each other. After about 10 minutes, the paramedics emerge with Albert on a stretcher. They load him into the ambulance, and I watch through the back window of Susie's car as they drive away with my best friend. The drive back to Susie's doesn't take that long. She only lives around the corner. Even so, I spend the entire time trying not to be sick. I hate travelling in cars. It's always turned my stomach. Susie drives along, scratching me behind the ear, the way she knows I like. It's nice, but it does remind me of Albert. When we arrive on Susie's street, it doesn't look all that different to Corners Grove. In fact, the only difference is the flats are taller. As she carries me into one of the stairwells, I feel relieved that she at least doesn't live on the bottom floor. In fact, this building has a lift, and after going up a few floors, the doors open to a hallway that's painted a dirty cream colour. Susie unlocks the door to her flat and puts me down on the inside. "Come on, Charlie," she says as she moves through the hallway to the living room. It turns out Susie has a balcony as well, and I will admit, since she lives on the 8th floor, the view's pretty good. She sits down with her back to the balcony railings and I climb into her lap. Across the street, I can see a lit up sign on the side of one of the other buildings. It reads, "Welcome to Daffodil Court." I look up at Susie. A warm tear hits me in the face. I nuzzle into her. "I know," I say. "I miss him too. I miss him too."